Today, papers really focusing on this national strike happening here in France.
Yep, today is another test for Emmanuel Macron. After the first strike earlier this month on September 12th, Emmanuel Macron's government and his labor reforms are going to be put to the test of what's happening in the streets. L'Humanité has chosen an image for its front page this morning that says it all. Macron's face photoshopped as an alien from a Mars attack poster, and the paper says that nothing is going to come in the way of Macron's reforms. The paper headlines saying that a royal road, or a road that's been completely cleared, has been put forth for businesses to do whatever they want. Now, Libération also has the strike issues on its cover. It's front and center. The left-leaning paper has put the different unions' initials on their front page, saying the three major unions are playing for their lives. Libé says the stakes are high for the unions and that depending on voter turnout, their roles and their power vis-a-vis the government and how much sway they will have could potentially shift.
Okay, some papers, I believe, also looking at the effect these protests or the impact these protests could have on Emmanuel Macron's presidency.
Yeah, the right-leaning paper Le Figaro slams Macron's critics and says that the reforms are illegitimate because they are being passed by decree. Now, Le Figaro says that Macron's reforms are legitimate, even if they won't be debated in Parliament, because Le Figaro argues that the people indirectly voiced their opinions and voted for the reforms because Macron covered it so heavily in his campaign. Le Figaro, in one of its editorials, says also that even if Macron's reforms are heavily contested in the streets, the president, in essence, doesn't care. They say that he wants to be thought of by the general public as someone who enacts change, even if that means he's unpopular, has low ratings in the polls, or even creates protests.
An idea, I believe, picked up by another newspaper, L'Opinion, no?
Yeah, L'Opinion has an amusing cartoon this morning by CAC. It tries to show the power dynamic that's at play. You have Emmanuel Macron, who has won the race, essentially the presidential race. He's on the podium. He's in first place next to Marine Le Pen and François Fillon, who were his rivals this spring. And then behind him on the ladder, you have Jean-Luc Mélenchon, and he's waving a flag and grinning. And the article that accompanies this cartoon says that Macron is being steadfast and going ahead with his reforms, but that in the end, the opposition might win, especially if the movement grows. And L'Opinion says, quote, "The battle for legitimacy has just begun."
Okay, let's move on to something more palatable this morning. The subject of food, also a hot topic here in France, but the debate over fast food, slow food.
Yeah, France's love for la bonne cuisine, or good food, is at the heart of a judicial and perhaps even cultural debate in Western France. On the Atlantic island of Oléron, which is popular and a sort of classy vacation spot for French people in the summer, the mayor has repeatedly refused to give a building permit to businessmen who want to build a McDonald's on the island. And the mayor has refused the permit because he says the restaurant will create too much traffic, with cars coming and going as people buy their Big Macs. But the businessmen say that the town has refused because they are commercially racist. Now, judges are slated to decide on the issue today.
I don't know if it's true, but I have read that the French consumption of McDonald's is one of the highest in the world.
Yes, it is.
It's quite surprising.
You wouldn't
to
think
me.
it, but
No.
yeah.
Well, let's stick with food. And there's a lot of articles about what is often seen as the Bible of food when it comes to the French.
Yeah, in France, the crème de la crème, or the country's best restaurants, they want to get into a little red book. It's actually quite a big red book, but the Michelin Guide. And they want to receive the 3 coveted stars. Now, all of France, pretty much all of France's chefs want that, except for one. According to Libération, Sébastien Bras has requested to no longer have his 3-star restaurant appear in the guide. Now, his restaurant was created by his father in 1992 and has the Michelin Stars, get ready for this, for 18 years. But Sébastien Bras explains that the pressure of maintaining the rating is just too much, and that he wants to keep cooking and have a little more leg room to experiment and change without always stressing about, is he going to lose a star? Libération says this is the first time ever a 3-star French chef has made such a request. And it's also important to note that in France, the pressure around the Michelin stars is very well known because a chef committed suicide in 2003 because he lost a star.
Indeed, yeah. So quite an intelligent decision then from that chef,
Perhaps,
deciding it's perhaps better for him to opt out. Finally, Solange, a story about a Viking. A female Viking.
Yes, a female Viking. Since the Middle Ages, there have been rumors that some of the Viking warriors were women, but it had never really been proven until now. An article in the Le Figaro explains how researchers took a DNA sample from a Viking warrior's tomb. They actually took DNA from her tooth, and they found that there was indeed no Y chromosome, which means that, and it proves that even back in the year 850, some women were being honored for being warriors.
Absolutely no surprise to either of us, yes. Continue to this very day. Solange Mongeon, thanks indeed for that review of the French